there's so many time-saving things that you can do in your business. And also, even the organizational side of your folders, and this is probably a huge one for many people, is that if we look at a desktop and it's like a dog's breakfast, right? Like there's a gazillion icons on that desktop and they can't find anything. And I know like that sometimes agent wants to cry because it's so frustrating. It's like, I don't know where my stuff is, but I just don't know how to fix it. And so for me, looking at that, it's like, oh, that's easy. We'll just do this, this, and this, and it's all done.
Podcast fam, welcome back. I'm Toni Singh.
And I'm Jenny Woon.
And we have a very special guest on today, DARCI LAROCQUE.
Hi, DARCI.
Hi, DARCI, who is the owner, founder, and creator of Agent Tech Mastery. And DARCI, we've had you on the podcast before when we were brand new in year one.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be back. It was very fun the first time.
Yeah, that was episode 36.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what is this now? Going to be 93?
This is 93.
Okay.
First time we talked about the top tech tools to earn more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so the conversation today will be a little bit different, but still around everything that you do best. I'll say something as well. I've also taken the Agent Mastery program with DARCI. You are incredibly knowledgeable. I actually, to be honest, DARCI, I never fully finished the program. I have a couple of weeks left, and it's actually on my list. However, I will say that when you took me through the journey of making everything easier and streamlined and automated and two-way syncing, I'm very thankful. I'll be forever thankful. And we're really wanting you to share this with our listeners because there's so many great agents. Some of them are just getting started. Some of them have been licensed for a long time and they haven't implemented the proper systems and tools in order to help them get their time back and be working, working with their ideal clientele and just having more time for themselves.
Yeah, let's give a little bit of a background of yourself for those who didn't tune into our first episode. Why are you so qualified to help real estate agents streamline their business? Mm-hmm. You're not a real estate agent.
No, I'm not.
Her husband is.
And it's funny. It is. It's funny because most people, and I'm very upfront, I'm not an agent, but most people just think I am because I live, eat, and breathe. And even my husband says, you sound like an agent every time I talk about stuff. I'm like, yeah, I know, because that's all I've done with work with agents for many years. But my background is kind of unique, and I actually don't know anybody that offers what I can with agents. So agents might go to an IT company thinking that's who would know how to get their business system set up. And what I found is that isn't correct because when I'm quotation marks, I was in IT for many years and I did customer and support as well. But I also, for decades, I also looked at how email servers work with first, because devices came along later, so I'm that old, that how it worked with Palm Pilots, if you guys remember Palm Pilots, and Outlook and Mac Mail and all the email platforms that we use. And they do work differently. So I'm a specialist in understanding email flow. And then devices came along that we're more familiar with nowadays. The BlackBerry, no more, and Android and Apple devices. And so all these things you can look at your email with different applications. And so there's a lot of knowledge to how things work. And I think people don't understand that. How come when I pick up my phone and I add a contact there, it doesn't end up on all the other places that I look at? And they don't realize that it usually stems from email. Right? And so if they've got 5 different email platforms, they're all mucked up. So my specialty really is, it's, just from way back when, looking at email servers and email flow and contacts and calendars and how they all talk to other devices. And so stuff that most people would have no idea with, I've done it for so long, I'll look and go, oh yeah, that's your problem. Right? And so it's really easy for me to do. And so, and it's fun for me because it's a little bit of detective work because like you said that, whether an agent is new, they still have had a life before and email addresses, or they've been around for a long time and they've messed up their systems for many years. We can fix them both.
So, Darcy, what would
Yeah.
you say your superpower is?
My superpower, I think my superpower is, it's funny because probably my mother would disagree, but everybody says how patient I am because a lot of people, it's not they don't understand this stuff. Honestly, you might think you understand email until we actually, and systems and setup until we actually delve into that you don't. Things are not working properly because your systems from top down are not set up properly. And I do have a lot of patience with people to say, how would you know this? You're not taught this. You don't like. There's just no way. And the stuff is really fun for me. So you don't have to be technical to fix your systems, but you do have to put the work in, as you know, Toni. You have to go through the steps. I'm very methodical in what I want agents to do.
So, Darcy, what would you say the top 3 concerns or problems that agents ask you to help them solve would be?
I'd say and it's interesting because I used to say it was something different, but I actually think now, and you might agree, is that it's being organized.
Yeah.
And organization, if you're disorganized, is taxing on your brain. You're losing money, and you're definitely losing time. So I think that even though it's technology and it's systems, the high level, it's being organized.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that what people don't realize, if they don't have those top things organized, then and you have to start on week 5, please, because you gotta get back in there.
Okay.
Because what happens is if people only are focused on getting their stuff organized, which is awesome, and they don't do the CRM side, which is the keeping in touch now that you're organized. I just had a client from New Jersey, and she's in week 5 of my program where they send out an email blast to, now that they're organized, they can say, hey, pick all past clients and pick from some templates and we'll customize it and send it out. And she got a deal from it.
Yeah.
And that is not unusual because people are kind of sitting there waiting for you, right? If you haven't been keeping in touch, that's one of the key things is agents do not keep in touch with their clients.
Is you are also helping agents learn to use their CRM system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and no CRM will work without, so I always say it's really a 4-step process. So number 1 is, do you have a website or a domain name?
Okay.
Number 2 is, do you have a properly configured business email that is working with that domain name, your name at your domain.com, whatever it might be. And then are you using cloud storage properly? And there's a little bit of confusion about cloud storage, but cloud storage really is where are your files and folders. And only then, after those 3 things are set up properly, can a CRM sync and integrate properly. So that's why my program is really methodical in how I teach agents. It's exactly, first is domain and email, then we're talking cloud storage, then we're talking CRM, and then all the benefits of a CRM. And it really is like, I won't even talk about a CRM until those other things are done.
Framework sounds like a very simplified framework.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's perfect for someone who's just starting the business. Now,
Yes.
someone who's maybe 6 years and their pipeline is plugged because their systems are not in place. But how do they realize that it's their systems that are the issue?
I think that it's I've just trying to figure out for many years the language of what I do, and it's always been, I mean, I'm really good at what I do, but I've been doing Facebook ads and I finally nailed it. I finally nailed it, and it's the word organization. If you are disorganized, it's almost always because your systems are messed up.
Yeah.
from top down, and it's usually because of what I just said. I've had my oldest clients have been in the business. It's a husband and wife team. They're in their 53rd year of real estate.
Wow.
Wow.
And I started helping them about 4 years ago. And it was life changing. I just was talking to them last week. And they're he kept going on and on about how it changed their life. And they've been agents for so long. They had a lot of stuff to fix, but they knew they'd lost millions and millions of dollars in lost repeat and referral business because they just didn't keep in touch with people. Right?
When we first had you on the podcast, I like this new
Yeah.
definition of organization because 100% that you're like an online organization ninja for systems.
Hey,
I love
Yeah,
that.
I like that.
and
I think
yes,
you should
you
steal that.
are. And I can also say too that was so before we hired you, Darcy, I used to have maybe 4 or 5 different lists
Yeah.
of clients, and the difficult thing for us was if you updated it somewhere, it didn't
Yes.
automatically update everywhere.
Right.
And so
Correct.
now it's just so easy. I update it in the one place. Everything is
Yes.
updated. I don't need to worry
Yes.
about it. I don't need to worry about losing
No.
information, and I have so much time. So
Yeah.
I
High five.
yeah, high
And,
five.
and
Thank
Toni,
you.
you were on Top Producer before.
It's the worst.
Was it Darcy that
Sorry.
made you switch to another CRM that's now a little bit
Well,
more efficient?
Darcy, you're still a big fan of Realty Ninja, are you?
So I don't talk software. That's the
Oh,
wrong
okay,
word.
sorry.
I don't really like. I'll tell you why I don't talk software. I'll talk in general terms like. So Top Producer is going through its own struggles right now. If you're following what's happening with them, is that they had, I think, their 8i version, and then they switched their platform to 10 or 10x, whatever they're calling it, and you can't move your stuff from one to another, and people have lost data, and it's just been horrible for the Top Producer users. So there's certain ones, and I never publicly like to say don't use stuff. If I talk to an individual agent and they say they've tried whatever, RealEvolve and Exact and I don't know, Sync and all these ones, I'll sit down and say, okay, let's take a look at first, how are you set up? Because some of these things don't ever sync and integrate and it's a standalone system. Or is it that it truly just doesn't sync and integrate ever? And so you've tried all these different CRMs. So when people come and work with me, I recommend a CRM that I know works and integrates properly. And here's the thing about CRMs. The number one thing that I would tell an agent is that, and you can go on my website, there's a agenttechmastery.com, I think it's step 3, it says download a CRM vendor checklist. Because I think that, I know how it works, but I think 99% of the agents wouldn't know this. So the first question I would ask, actually, this just happened. Someone said, hey, there's this amazing CRM and it does this and this and this. And I said, okay, well, number one question to ask them, does it do a 2-way sync with your contacts and your calendar? And so what we mean by that, and I really think this is confusing to people, but what we mean by that is what you just said, is that we want, if you update your phone contact, will it automatically update the CRM contact? And in the CRM, and you're editing and adding and doing stuff in there, does it end up on your phone? If they say, well, yes, but it's a third-party application, or yes, but we'll import your data and then you can manually do it, then the answer is then it doesn't work. People don't understand that. If you are fine with having a standalone CRM, then any CRM works. But my goal was, when I started helping Terry, like a long time ago now, that's my husband, and that's why I only help agents, is when he was started out in the business back in 2000, I think it was 8, I was looking at, why are you doing this and why are you doing this? None of this makes sense. Who's like, no one helps you guys set up your business systems? He's like, what? No, they don't. So I okay, well, that's weird, but okay, let me fix you. So I fixed him, and then after we fixed the email and the domain and the cloud storage side, then I said, okay, so how are you going to keep in touch with your clients? And he's like, well, I don't know. Like, well, what do you mean? There's no system. So, okay, there has to be systems for agents. So I started researching all the ones I could find, but I was looking at it from a different way than an agent. I was like, does it integrate? and most don't do it well. So the one that I recommend does integrate. And again, I'm not trying to hide stuff, but I'll tell you what I used to do. I would speak at conferences and I would tell people exactly what to do. And I actually found out later that I was hurting them because I would say, go here and do this, and go and do this, and go sign up for this. And then I would hear from them a year later saying, now I have this other email that isn't done right. Now I use that CRM that you said, but it's not working. It's like, oh, right. Because you're not doing, like, I can't explain what to do in 45 minutes of telling people what to do, right? I can't explain the actual details of what are the other problems, because if you've got 3 other email addresses, well, we've now got to fix 3 other email addresses. If you've got 10, I've seen agents with, are you ready? 27 email addresses.
Wow.
Well, that means that every email address, and this, I can't stress this enough that people don't get this, is that every email address that you have has email, has possible email folders, has contacts, and has calendar. And if you have got all of those, having those things everywhere, that's why you don't know where your stuff is, right? I added it here. Oh, it ended up on that email contact. Oh, I added it up here. It ended up on that other email calendar. So you're like, I don't know where my stuff is. I can't find it. I'm missing meetings. It's all because your systems are messed up.
So, Darcy, this came up as well, this question when we were working together. The beauty of the two-way sync and having everything talk to one another is that it's all in one place.
Yes.
I remember asking you a question. I was afraid that if I had accidentally deleted the contact somewhere, it would also delete everywhere.
It does.
It does. So have you, in your experience, ever had that happen with a client? And is there a way or recommendation that you would have for them to back it up at a certain point in time? Or is it just a non-issue?
So you can definitely back it up. So if you're paranoid, you can back up once a month, have a little task to back up your contacts or your calendar once a month for sure. I'm very clear in telling people that you update here, it updates here. If you delete here, it, like, everything is all together. So no matter what you do anywhere, happens everywhere. Right? And I haven't ever had anybody accidentally delete all their contacts. What I've seen though in, like, real estate forums and things like that, and this drives me bonkers, like I see it all the time. People say, hey, I dropped my Android or iPhone or whatever in the toilet. Now I've lost all my contacts. Please text me all your info so I rebuild. I'm like, okay, because your systems are set up properly. Like that is horrible. And that means that all your stuff is not in a cloud somewhere that you can access it. Or they don't, and here's the thing about that as well, is that, or it is, but they don't know how to access it. Because I can tell you, if you aren't set up properly and you drop your iPhone or Android in the toilet, your contacts are not gone. You just don't know how to get them because you don't understand your system setup.
What
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. What if there's 100 duplicate contacts and you're now merging, like, your phone and then another CRM together? How does that work?
You got to hire Darcy for that.
So the fixing of duplicate data is well, no, let me rephrase that. I was gonna say it's easy. The merging of duplicate data is easy. So you're correct. So let's say, my expertise is you have, I always want to swear when I say this. I'm not going to swear. Well, you have stuff all over the place. So you've got let's just say, because this is generally what I see. You've got an iPhone, and you got a couple Gmail accounts, and you got a Shaw account or Yahoo account, and then you've got a couple spreadsheets of all your client stuff, right? And then you come work with us. And what we end up doing is saying, okay, we're going to get the stuff from all those different spots, and we're going to get them into one, and then we're going to merge the duplicate information. So imagine that, let's say I always use the Fred Flintstone and Wilma Flintstone. So let's pretend that Fred Flintstone was over here and he only had an email. Then Fred Flintstone was somewhere else and he had a couple different addresses. and then he had another old email somewhere else. And we merged the data. We'll have one Fred Flintstone, but all the info now has to be cleaned up, and the agent has to do that because I would have no idea what's correct and what's not. But at least now they have one spot to go, and they would go into Fred Flintstone and they would probably know, oh, that's his old email, we'll delete that. Because in a contact record, I think people overdo it. We used to need like their work address. Who emails anyone at their work, generally speaking? I mean, maybe that's their main email, or their address. Do we need their work address? Maybe, but probably not, right? Do we need multiple email accounts for people? No, we need one main one that we want to communicate with them, right? We want one phone number that we want to communicate with them. Do we need their landline anymore? Maybe, but I'd say 95% of the time, we want only their mobile number, right? We don't want to confuse things anymore. Make it as simple as possible in how we're communicating with people. One email, one mobile, one address, and we're good to go.
That makes sense.
That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that I often have that I struggle with when I was kind of switching CRMs or even just rebuilding my website or refreshing my website is trying to find the right combination of like a website developer that also manages a CRM, but or a CRM that's really good, but they don't do websites. So should you work with two separate companies on that, or should you try to find one that does it all?
Let's talk about the domain side of things and websites and CRMs, because it is confusing. I get this question all the time. So I'll use Terry as an example. He wanted a new domain name called Kelowna.homes. So he went to a registrar like GoDaddy or Bluehost. There's like many registrars out there. GoDaddy is the one that almost everybody knows. So you go to GoDaddy and you look to see if it's available. And the more popular a name is, the more expensive it's going to be, just FYI. So you find a domain and then you own it or lease it for however long you're paying GoDaddy to have it. Once you stop paying, it goes back into the public and someone else can grab that domain name, okay? So then, like, what do I do with that domain name? For new agents, just cost cutting, because there's a lot of expenses in becoming an agent, and maybe they haven't done any deals yet. I recommend that they just point that name they have to the brokerage profile that they have of their own. And if you've been around for a while and you've got some money that you're investing in your own company, which you should be, is then it's either somebody that hosts a website, like in our area, it's like Ubertor, MyRealPage, Realty Ninja, one of those type of places. So then when people type Kelowna.homes, it appears like you're a real business, right? Not just some random person. So then the question that you said, Jenny, was about the CRM, is that some website companies have CRMs and some CRM companies have websites, right?
Yeah.
And I personally think sometimes that's not great, but a lot of the times when a CRM is in a website, what they're telling you is that it will do cold leads. And if people find that it works, number one thing I can tell you about any CRM is that if you're using one like that, most of the time, and I've seen it so many times, the agent just says, oh yeah, okay, do it, set it up. And then they don't actually look at what is the step if I'm a client and I tap on this link and I sign up, what happens?
Right.
Because I tell you, we just tested one and it was garbage. It was so horrible. And then I saw somebody else saying how great they were. I'm like, you know what? Did you test how the flow works for your client or possible client that comes in as a lead? It was horrible. It sent them the wrong links to things. And if I was a buyer, it sent me seller information because they were very disorganized. So you want to you got to test things. Like, I'm all about testing. You got to test. If you say you don't have the time, then you don't have a time to have that CRM because you're wasting your money, right? You're wasting your money on this website CRM that's bringing in leads what's happening with them, right? So I call that, and if it's good, because there's some great ones out there, those are lead gen websites, right? So they cost more money, sometimes a couple $100 a month, because they should be getting you leads. Then what I say is once they become a warm lead, they come into your actual CRM. Okay. One of the things that I find a problem with having a lead gen CRM is agents make decisions and then they change their mind, and a year or two later someone says, hey, this is a really good website place. Then they go, oh, I'm just going to switch from these guys to these guys, and not realizing the CRM's with the other place.
Right.
And now what happens to all the data? Right? So I don't love it because I know what happens with agents. They move around, do weird stuff, and they forget they've done it, and then they lose all their client data because now they've switched it. But if you have a CRM that is yours, then there's no problem, right? Like, and this is another thing about CRMs, you guys. I don't like agents using a brokerage CRM either, because life happens, you leave, you switch, you move, stuff happens. We don't know what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 years from now. And then you've been using the brokerage CRM and then you switch brokerages, well, or the brokerage email, well, what does everybody have? Like, they have the brokerage email and now all your clients are in the brokerage CRM. Use one that is your own.
Right, right. What, you know how one CRM maybe rates like an ABCD, right, in letter form, and then another CRM rates their leads warm, cold, new, hot. So how does that transfer over from one CRM to the other when the rating is
Might
that
not.
on the back end? Is that fixed on the back end?
No, it might not. It might not. Therein lies another problem, is that you can you can always export the contacts. You can't necessarily export extra stuff. Sometimes you can, but you can almost never. I've personally never seen that you can export like drip campaigns you've already done. You might be able to export it into like a spreadsheet, and then you'd have to manually enter it into the new CRM. I had a client who just actually was leaving Top Producer because of the mess up of everything. And that's what he's going to end up having to do. He's going to have to manually move the drips and emails and anything that they had in Top Producer that they were actually using and set it up in a new system. But the thing is, I know what people are probably thinking right now, like, oh my gosh, my head's exploding and it's going to be so much work, right? And I say, if you've lost $500,000 because of the work, like, it's a no-brainer to do. It's a no-brainer to get your system set up because you're losing money and time by not doing it.
Right.
Right? And clients are money. So I think it's really, really important for agents to understand that there is a correlation between being disorganized, losing so much time, losing clients, and losing a whack of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Darcy, you've talked a lot about helping agents get organized and then stay organized with the proper foundations and setup in their systems. Obviously, automation can really help with that, right? Because you're eliminating extra energy spent on the same tasks. Are there, I guess, how does an agent find ways to eliminate the tasks, the mundane ones that they can continually have to repetitively do every day? Is there a way that you would recommend for them to eliminate the repetitiveness, either via an automation tool or something that they can set up in their systems?
Yeah, well, both. So some CRMs will do some things for you. Like, I think having a CRM is kind of like having a virtual assistant. Now, you still have to do the work, the initial work. Like, I don't really believe in outsourcing the initial work of a CRM because, and I'll tell you, like, even for Terry, when I started setting up drip campaigns and stuff for Terry, I did it and then I had to hand it off to him to say, Terryize it. Even though he's my husband, I've known him for a long time, I don't speak the same way. So I think you can hand off some stuff to an assistant to do, that you have to do the initial part of it. There are some tools like even in our program, and I'm trying to think, Toni, when you were in it, if I taught that, there's a whole module on how to use Chrome, and it could be any browser, but I I use Chrome, so I show people how you use Chrome, but any browser you can do the same thing. But we use browsers all day long, right?
Yeah.
So there's ways to have folders and kind of automation inside Chrome so that these tabs open up every single day, or there's these folders in your bookmarks for everything that you do each day, and it pops up all the stuff in it.
So
That makes
it was in the course when I did it.
okay.
And I can't
Yeah.
tell you how much time, like I was trying to calculate how much time I save every single day in clicking on that exact folder for all of my real estate stuff and going to Paragon
Yeah.
and then to web forms and then to my
Yeah.
email and then toggling back and forth to calendar.
Yeah.
So quick.
So you're saying you
Right?
never had those as
It's,
bookmarks,
well, I have it set
basically.
up like this way so that it's always here
Right.
and
Okay.
it just happens very, very quickly. And I don't know. It's a simple
Before I
thing,
think
but
most it's that's the thing is honestly, I've had people when we're talking, and I never used to teach the Chrome thing, but what would happen is we do these Q&A days where I'm showing people how to do stuff, and people would always say, agents would say, and members of the group would say, hey, how are you doing that? Like, oh, and then it happened enough that I'm like, oh, many people don't know this, and it's like a huge time saver. Like, it's huge. And again, if you could add up all the time, because before what you probably would have done is in the URL type in email or Paragon or whatever, and it would come up. But that's a couple seconds, a couple minutes trying to figure out where your stuff is, and now it's all in one spot,
and it works
right?
with the
So it's
systems too for the contacts and everything, right?
yeah. So there's so many time-saving things that you can do in your business, and also even the organizational side of your folders. And this is probably a huge one for many people. Is that if we look at a desktop and it's like a dog's breakfast, right? Like there's a gazillion icons on that desktop, and they can't find anything. And I know like that sometimes agent wants to cry because it's so frustrating. It's like, I don't know where my stuff is, but I just don't know how to fix it. And so for me, looking at that, it's like, oh, that's easy. We'll just do this, this, and this, and it's all done. But for them, it's life changing. Like I've had agents when we do that cry because there's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like, because that just, it weighs on their brain every day that there's like all these crap of stuff on their desktop and they don't know where to find anything. And now it's organized,
So,
right?
Darcy, you mentioned earlier in the conversation about email and
Yeah.
email being really important, but just from an organizational standpoint for a moment, not even how the email communicates with the other systems,
Yes.
what would
Yeah.
your recommendations be
Yeah.
at that very simplest level to keep an agent? Like, how should agents be filing things? Because you can get
Yes.
a lot of
Yep.
electronic clutter and
Yes.
it's
So absolutely.
crushing.
Yep.
So, what kind of advice would you have for realtors that are listening?
You know, like a segue, because I was going to say this, it's the same thing. When you look at your inbox,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have got 1,000 emails in there, or I have seen hundreds of thousands of emails in there, you can't tell me that that's not weighing on your brain. Even if it's Sephora and whatever else, where I don't like Sephora, whatever, whoever newsletter you've signed up and it's the Bay or whatever inside your email, and you don't see it. You see the first page, and there's all these other emails that you haven't read, and they're maybe not important. Most of them are probably not important. It still weighs on your brain, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I've got all this stuff to do, and So what I tell people, and what they can do is they can actually go through and see, like, I'm sure the emails that you really need to answer are probably in the first few pages, right? Get rid of everything else, not by trashing it, by just archiving all those emails. Get them out of the inbox, because in most email platforms, you can somehow get rid of them, not delete. Because I'm just saying, as time saving, if you have a space, here's the other issue with free email. Sometimes you've got a limited size mailbox, right? And so then you do have to go through and delete. Properly configured business emails have a ton of room. And so could we just delete stuff? So here's what I do. I actually just did it yesterday because I had a bunch of stuff and thought, I'm just going to get rid of it because it was not in my inbox, because I have mine is, if I could show you my inbox right now, I probably, at any given time, I've got 20 things in there. And those are things that I'm working on. Once I've done it or sent it off to somebody else, it's archived or moved to a folder or label. So, but what you can do is, let's take that Bay example. I would go into a newsletter of the Bay, and I would grab the email that is of that newsletter, and I would put it in the search function, and then I would find all the Bay newsletters, because I don't want them, right? Or Sephora or whatever, whoever you're signing up for. And then I would say select all, and I would delete them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is for people who have issues. Now, if you've got a small mailbox where you consistently have to keep going in and deleting mail because your mailbox is full, you need to book a call with me, because that's a really bad way to run your business, and you're losing business. Because think about this. When your mailbox is full and I'm a client and I email you, I get a bounce message back saying mailbox full. Well, I'm on to looking for some other agent. I'm not going to try and figure out how to get a hold of you, right? It just doesn't make sense to run a business on these free email accounts ever.
Right.
Okay, for multiple reasons, but that's one. They have that's not what they actually are good at. And so they give you a small amount of space, and that is, if you want to get help, good luck. Right? It's not good. It's not good. You need to have a properly configured business email address.
So you're saying to have that properly configured email address, go onto a URL like a GoDaddy to sign up for Jenny@jennywoon.com, for example.
No.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is book a call with me so I can look at your systems and then tell you what to do. But what happens is, first to have the domain. So it's all about domain. So you have to own the domain or lease the domain before you can get a properly configured business email. But the problem, so let's say we go and get, I don't know, I'm going to use Terry's again, Kelowna.homes. So I bought the domain, and it doesn't even matter if I host it somewhere, but where am I going to put the email? So whether it's GoDaddy or Bluehost, they offer email services. Do not buy the email services from them.
Okay.
Okay, that's
What I
clear.
have learned what I have learned over the years is that you want to be in control of your own stuff. And when people come through my program, I tell them exactly how to do that. Because my goal in the end is that you understand how your business is set up. Does that make sense? So I'll tell you kind of an example is that for many, many years before I ran people through this program, is that they would hire me and I would go fix their systems, and they didn't know what I was doing. Just suddenly things are working. Then something would change and they'd have to hire me again. And they'd spend a lot of money over the course of many years. And then I was like, I don't like this, because you should understand how this all works. You shouldn't be relying on me. And so my goal in this program I run agents through for 8 weeks is that you have a better understanding of your business systems and how they're set up. And when things go wrong, and they will, right? Like stuff happens, the vendor changes something or something isn't working, you know how to get support, right? From the vendor of the product, because not all support is equal, right? Top producer support is not very good. It may change over time, but right now it's not very good. But I know that the vendor that I recommend, their support is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I know that the email provider that I recommend for people, their support is phenomenal. Okay? So I would say don't get your email from the registrar, because that adds a third layer. You're going to, let's just use GoDaddy as an example. It could be anybody. You're going to GoDaddy to register to buy the domain, Kelowna.homes, and then they have another service that they will provide to you, but then it's on their back end. Now it's attached to GoDaddy and not you.
Okay.
So
If that makes sense.
it does. And so you're really advocating for control and processes within your own business so you can have full autonomy over your own business and the freedom to go wherever you want, right?
Yes.
And it sounds like as well, because we often ask guests, it's like, oh, well, which automation tool or, URL or something works really well. But it also sounds like the key to organization is the proper setup of the actual systems themselves. Because whether or not
Yes.
you're using something like a Zapier or something to automate
Yes.
tasks, it's irrelevant
Yes.
if it doesn't go to the right place and it doesn't help build that foundation. Is that right?
I got shivers. Yes.
Because I was looking at it the other way before
You're
too. It's like,
speaking her
well,
language.
just tell me the one thing to use so I can
Yes.
implement it, but actually it wouldn't automate properly anyhow because the way I was set
No.
up before, it would do
Yes.
Okay,
nothing.
so
Yes.
essentially,
Yes.
you have not yet shared the email system that we should be using. So, but we have to book a 30-minute consultation to get to know that little secret.
Well, no. So in my program, I open up about everything. But again, if I told people right now what exactly to do, they'd go do it, but they'd set it up wrong.
Okay,
And then
fair
here's
enough.
the problem. So just think about this. I want you to really understand this because when I talk to agents for 30 minutes or so, I need to ask a whole bunch of questions because everybody's different. How long have you been an agent? You know, how many clients do you have? What systems are you currently using? So from top down, it has to be set up properly, right? And so if they just go set up another email, they still have those 5 other emails that they're using on their phone set up a certain way and their computer set up a certain way. Now they added another one. It's still not all going to talk until they go through my program and we get them only using that one, all the stuff off all those other platforms they have, and it integrated. Okay, so I'm not trying to be secretive. I just know that people will go try and do it and spend a long time trying to figure it out, and they might set it up on the wrong way, more than likely.
Yeah.
Then the CRM's not going to work.
So let's talk about the program then for a moment, because some of our
Yeah.
listeners are probably wondering, well, how can I register for the program? What kind of time
Yeah.
commitment is it? And what kind of initial
Yeah.
investment is it going to be? Can you
Gotcha.
speak a little
Yeah.
bit about that for our listeners?
I can.
Okay.
I can. Can we come back to that? Because I just said
Sure.
when you were talking about Zapier, I
Oh.
just really wanted to just talk quickly about
Yes,
that.
please.
Because Zapier is an amazing tool for integration, but you shouldn't have to solely rely on that to get something from one thing to another.
That's right.
So with my program, generally speaking, Zapier is out of the question unless, let's say they use some random third party, they still want to stay using some random third party thing, and it won't automatically sync. Then Zapier is amazing. It's amazing. Zapier is amazing. I cannot stress enough that I'm not poo-pooing Zapier at all. I love it.
In
But
the
you
right
may not need it.
circumstances. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
for
Yeah,
sure.
thank you for
Okay,
mentioning that.
yeah,
Okay,
you're welcome. I just don't want, I'm not poo-pooing Zapier or other
No,
third-party
no.
apps. You don't if you're set up properly, generally you don't need them.
Okay, and when you say your system, is it just ones that you're suggesting, or is it one that you've created yourself and designed yourself?
That's a very good question. No, I am not no. I did not design anything. I know what works to set things up and what vendors to use.
Okay, thank you.
And sorry, for
Okay,
just
I
to,
don't.
to Jenny's point as an example, I remember in your program, I was
Yeah.
using some other systems
Okay.
that that were not actually listed in your program. And so
Yeah.
when we did the consultation, you asked
Yeah.
me, like, for example, my cloud is different than the ones that are actually in the program. I was using a lot of
Yeah.
Dropbox, so we just changed it.
Yeah.
And so it was
Yeah.
great because I could have switched systems, but I didn't need to. I was already using the
No.
systems that worked for my business, and we had some things set
That's
up,
right.
and then we just kind of
Yep.
integrated it in.
It's like there's so
Yeah, no,
many missing.
I couldn't have done it. Like,
gaps
honestly,
here.
those 2 days, I just have to say, those 2 days, they were hell for me. Hell.
Yeah.
When we had to go
When we
over
were
everything,
working-
no,
Yeah,
I don't ever
I
want to
know.
do it again. But it was
You
great.
don't
It
need
was
to.
great.
You don't need to anymore.
I know.
You don't have to. And to your point, because I do think some of the things that people are like, what? So some things when we're working through, like some things, I don't care what you use, but I'll tell you when I think what you're talking about is we have a one meeting that's about the third week of my program where I look at your systems and it's a 4-hour meeting and I look top down. Okay, what have you done? Let's fix it all. So what you're mentioning is there are many different ways of doing things. So you might want to use Dropbox, you might want to use iCloud, you might want to use OneDrive, you might want to use Google Drive. I don't care. But what I do is I look at, are you actually only using Dropbox? Because what we find is people use a little bit of everything and then they're on their phone and they can't find that document because they put it somewhere, they don't know where. So my suggestion is pick a platform. And if that could help anybody, is pick one platform, stop using multiple, and then know how to get access to it from anywhere. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
good.
let's go back to your program offerings then for a
Yes.
moment.
Yes. Yeah.
I
So
want to know when when you had your sessions, is this with Darcy directly, or Darcy, do you have a team?
Oh, I can answer this if you don't want to.
go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I was going to say the beauty of the system, I'm an advocate for the system. The beauty of the system is that, is Ray still with you?
Absolutely.
Her assistant Ray
Oh
is
my God,
amazing.
Ray's on top of everything.
Ray is on top of everything.
He's
But I was going to
amazing.
say, what's great about the system is that you have to take responsibility for your own business. And they kind of just have
Yeah.
a pathway really that you follow the pathway, you have to do certain
Yeah.
homework and things by a deadline. And then what was
Yeah.
pivotal though was with Darcy, we split it into two, right? The 4 hours,
I can't
I think.
remember.
We did.
I can't remember.
So
Yeah,
the 4
maybe.
hours, which is excruciatingly long, and for somebody that is not naturally, I'm like, this is killing me right now. I honestly had to go to sleep after. I didn't know what to do, but she's so excited about it. She's fixing everything. I'm like, yeah, this sucks.
Wait, so are you doing a remote
Yes.
on the desktop?
Yes.
Okay.
So to answer
Yeah.
your question though, Darcy is there in person, but you have to put in the work and then you do the special 4-hour session with Darcy where she helps you fix everything. And what I couldn't fix, she basically did it for me and then I learned why. And then there's the weekly coaching sessions is what I want
That's
to
right.
call them, right?
Yeah.
Where you're fully integrating the information and the processes that you've either just employed or you are trying to change.
Toni, did you
Yeah.
know you had these problems before?
Trust me, you have them
talking to
too.
Darcy?
Every person
I
that
know
is not,
I do.
you have them too.
I can tell you right now, I'll be honest, I have like 8 email addresses.
Okay, so I got to tell you, for me, the calendars was a
Yeah.
massive thing. Now it's so beautiful. To the email, I understand now why you delve so much into email, setting everything up properly, because in the different email addresses that I was using, and I only had like 3, one for work, one for personal, and one old one that I used to use when I was at Rennie. Each of them had their own calendars. And the team calendar was not syncing properly, so it was 3 times the amount of work to make sure that it was done
Yes.
properly. And so
Yeah.
that was like a major thing for me.
It's a long day, but it is mostly you don't have to do anything except answer questions
Okay, I have
because
a
you've done all the
question.
work up till then.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So
You sound like me now. I have a
I have
question.
a question. Yeah, you do ask that. I have a question. So let's just say
She's got her hand up.
one contact has this one email address that you're trying to
Yes.
merge into. Like, are you contacting all those people that had that old email address saying that you don't no longer want to use that email address?
So there's a
Oh,
couple different, yeah, no, that's a good question because there are, and that's one of the questions is we have things that we want to do. So we want to forward the email, we want to configure it properly. We may want to send an email out to everybody, we may not. It totally depends on the agent, but we discussed that for each email address. So yes, probably, but maybe not. But there is an opportunity to do that because you're marketing. Like sometimes it's like, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Because now you can say, oh, hey, Darcy, I'm not using that email anymore, but hey, do you know the market? Blah, blah, blah. You can have, like, there's some opportunity there
Okay.
for sure.
All right.
Okay? Yeah. Or not. Again, that 4-hour meeting, that's where together we decide what you want to do because there's other options to do things.
Okay, so we talked about commitment, cost. I guess you don't work with every client. I think at the end of the day, you do your 30-minute session, see if they're right fit for you. Okay.
Yeah, it's true because it's, a lot of times, and I'll tell you, a lot of times you don't have to be techie, but you got to be willing to put in the work and you got to have a pretty good attitude. Like if someone's, like, I don't really care about fixing my systems, well, neither do I then. Like, right? Like I don't want it more than you,
Yeah.
but I know it's life changing. And so we don't take everybody in the program for sure, but what happens is they book a session, they fill out a short-ish form, and the form is just going to ask, do you currently use a CRM, or how many CRMs have you used? Because I'll tell you what it tells me. And also, how many brokerages have you worked with? Because what that tells me, of having worked with agents for a long time, if you've been in the business 5 years and you've switched 4 brokerages, that tells me a little bit about you, right? Why are you switching? And you've also tried 5 CRMs, okay? There's something going on there, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're an agent, but you've also done a lot of switching around, and a lot, like, might be time to like settle down, pick a lane and stick with it,
Well,
right?
and look
So
inner,
there's
look inside. It's
right.
not the
And
person.
you guys know that. Yeah. Yeah, look inside. Yeah. Yep. So and it just gives me a lot of, and there's also one of the things is, one of my questions is, how awesome are you? And it might sound really stupid to ask that, but it's one of my favorite questions to ask somebody, because based on the answer, it also tells me a lot about,
Mindset.
what they think and how they work, and mindset, right? It really does. Because as you know, like, a
We
lot of
should ask
things
people
are
that.
about, right?
I
Yeah,
like that. I
right.
like that a lot.
How awesome are you? Because some people's answers are really funny, and like, okay, I think I might want to work with them. That's awesome. But we want to know a little bit about your business. I don't want you to just pick up the phone and we just start talking. I do some research. I look online, and I'll look up your name, and I'll look up your website, and I'll look up other social media platforms, and I'll see, because here's the thing, you guys. Here is the big thing, what I see consistently. When I research people prior, I might go to their Facebook account and click on the website they gave me on the form. It's a different one, or it's broken, or it's a different email address. Then I go to LinkedIn, and it's different and broken links, and like, you're losing business because of this, right? Now, I don't specifically talk social media, but I tell people, come into one of the Q&As and have me review your online presence, and you go fix the stuff that I'm finding, because your possible clients are finding the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's so important. So after that, if they're a good fit for the program, then I will make an offer for them to come into the program, and I'm generally give people a really good deal if they take action that day, because I only want to work with people who take action. Agents are notorious for like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to think about it for another 3 years, and I'm going to lose a whole bunch more deals, and I'm not going to take action, or I'm not committed to working on my business. And those aren't the agents I want to work with.
So I should say something right now. I haven't finished the program.
Yeah, I know. Get back in there.
I know. I am getting back in. Thank you. So but for the time commitment, Darcy, just for our listeners. So is it 6 to 8 weeks? How long does it take if you're not doing the interruption in the program?
Yeah, so 8 weeks, and I think when you took it, it was maybe 6. I've actually
It
extended
was
it
because, and this is not a good reason. This is why you're actually on my list in my calendar to complete it. But I took the respite. The market got crazy. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm like, I just can't commit the time. And then we had some health stuff in the family, so I didn't get back in. And I think it is a good idea, though, to offer the one respite for people, just so, because life happens sometimes, right? But you said
Life
8
does happen.
weeks. Yeah, 8 weeks.
It's
And then
8 weeks.
Mhm.
And of course, it depends on your skill level, right? Like, some people are super technical and some people aren't. And it's okay. But if you're not technical, and you don't like really reading, we do reading, text and videos, so we kind of cover both bases, but roughly 2 hours a week. And if you can't commit 2 hours a week in your business, because you can do it 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 20 minutes here, like, it doesn't matter when you do it, because it's online. The only thing that's set in stone is our Q&A days. They changed from when I changed it to Thursdays now. Thursdays from 9 till 11. That's currently the days that we meet as a group. And then the 8 weeks is really like the money making side is on the 5th week. So what I did different from when you were there is I really want people to, like, some people are happy enough just to get their systems fixed, and then they don't do the rest of the program. And whatever, it's fine with me, but the rest of the program is the money making side.
Yes.
Right? It's like the CRM side, where we're going to set up drip campaigns, and we're going to send an email blast to your past clients, because at this point we've labeled your past clients. We can send an email blast for you agents who do not keep in touch with your past clients. I cannot tell you, almost every single agent who has sent that email out to their past clients in the 5th week of my program has gotten one. I think the most I've got is 5 deals from somebody. One agent said they got 5 people responding saying, oh yeah, hey, we're buying or selling. Well, yeah, because you're keeping in touch. Everybody's always buying and selling, but now suddenly you're front of mind.
Right.
Right?
And then they have
Yeah, it's
access,
remarkable.
and then the people that have enrolled have access to the program, possibly not you for the Q&A after it's finished, right? But you can always go back in to have a look
Oh,
through.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right. So this after the 8 weeks, after you've completed it, my goal is that you don't need me after 8 weeks, and I'm pretty successful at that. You've got all your systems, you understand it, you've got a working CRM, and then sadly, okay, bye, right? But you still get access to the program. You just don't, none of the live stuff is available. If you really need it, there's an opportunity to come back in with the live Q&As in another session, but people don't need it anymore.
Wow.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like a succession plan to
Yeah.
look forward to.
Exactly.
I don't think we had this when you were on our first episode, but we usually complete the episode with 5 rapid fire questions. So we're going to start off with the first question is, what do you look forward to the most this summer?
Our house being built.
Right.
Very exciting.
And you're in
'Cause it's
Kelowna.
supposed to be.
And you're in Kelowna, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, our question for you is, how awesome are you?
I'm a 14, 15 out of 10. I was 100.
Nice. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Reliable, loyal, and awesome.
Perfect. What hot neighborhood should an investor look for or invest in Kelowna?
Oh my gosh, one? There's so many. I don't think I can answer that like just one. Just come to the
You have to
region
pick
and
one.
there's like a whole.
Anywhere.
I like we're North Clifton Estates is where we're moving. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
North Clifton. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on that neighborhood. What is the last app you downloaded on your phone?
I'm just trying to think. Relive.
What's that?
I know. We're just looking at it. It's actually for a hiking app, and it's super cool. But we're looking at it for real estate. I'm going to try and do some stuff with them. But anyhow, it's a hiking app, and what it does is this really cool, you take a picture when you start and midway through of scenery and videos, and then it shows the whole thing about where you've been and shows the views and the satellite view. And I thought, that might be awesome for real estate. So
I think I think my friend uses that app because we'll go hiking and then he'll track our steps and then take photos at our stop, and then he'll like add it into the storyline and then send me the link, and then like we have like photos at every stop based on the.
I could see how this could be important and integrated into a client journey.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what she's kind of hinting
Love it.
a little bit.
So here's the thing that I do is I look up when stuff like this happens. It's going to take me a while to research and figure out if it will work, but then I'll let everybody know, hey, you guys should be using this too.
Okay.
Thank you. And finally, where can our listeners find you?
agenttechmastery.com. And if they want to watch the webinar, which is really step by step, it's a free training. There's step 1 on the main website. And then there's some checklists that I find agents need as well on the website. There's 3 boxes, so they can check that out there. And if they know based on what we talked about that, oh my gosh, I need help, I want to book a call, up above on the top, it says complimentary chat.
Oh, nice. Yes, I see that right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Darcy, thank you so much for coming on for a second time.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Congratulations on all your successes, you guys. And to have the Oakwin up in Kelowna, I can't wait. Is it open now?
I don't know. I don't know. I know it's public. It's public.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's done renovations. I'm not really sure. I've been
Okay,
so
I'll have to
busy
check
with the
it out.
brokerage in Burnaby, so it's
She's a busy lady.
Yeah.
and Oakland's growing in so many different on Vancouver
Yeah.
Island, North Van. So there's lots happening. But stay tuned to just keep in touch.
We'll have to come visit you when we're
Come
up your
visit if
way.
you're up here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come visit.
That
Thanks,
sounds
Darcy.
awesome.